So let me call this meeting to order, our March 3rd Board of Elections meeting. I'll start with our first item is old business, and our first item under that is approval of our updated minutes of our February 10th meeting. So do I have a motion for approval of those minutes?
I will make a motion to approve those minutes.
Second.
Oh, you're on mute.
Sorry. Yes, there we go. All right. Chairperson Rana,
Yes.
Clerk Brown,
Yes.
and Board Member Garlitz.
Yes.
Motion approved, 3-0.
Great, thank you. So our next item is with Clerk Brown and is our voting space allocation update.
Good afternoon, everybody. With respect to Election Central, I do not have an update at this time. Status quo until something else happens. I continue to work with CISA regarding the recommendations for the Johnson Hardware building.
Okay, thank you. Is there any discussion? I see Tree has her hand raised. I don't know if you wanted to, oh, okay. Just stretching. Great. Seeing no discussion, we'll move on to the next agenda item, which is the discussion on the clerk's proposal for 2022 satellite voting. And we'll start with Clerk Brown there as well.
All righty. Well, first, I bring you greetings from the Caribbean. I was not here last week, but I hear that amazing things have been going on at the Napa building, for which, of course, we are incredibly grateful. Last evening, after I left the office, I received the report from CISA for the old Napa building, which I have forwarded to you, the commissioners, Mr. Crone and Mr. Evans. So I wanted to make sure that if you haven't already accessed it, that you do, with the understanding that I don't want to discuss any of those things on this public meeting. But I am hopeful that those recommendations are implemented. And I replied, I believe I put in there that I'd also like to see, to the extent possible, those recommendations be implemented over at the Johnson Hardware building as well. Thank you.
Oops, now I was muted. Thank you for that update. And do we need discussion on this? I don't know if Board Member Garlitz, if you have anything to add or.
No, I thought it was all things that we were kind of expecting, and I appreciate the work and the effort on behalf of CISA and Clerk Brown on getting all that done. And I think that, or my hope is that we'll be able to implement all of it.
Yeah, likewise. Thank you. Okay, so let's move now to new business. And I think we'll start with approval of poll sites with Karen Wheeler. And I think you have a couple of items that you wanted to raise for us. Is that right? Okay.
I do. So I did send the board the 2022 primary election hours, and it's the voting times and locations. And so that is, I don't know, do you want me to read that for the viewers to understand what this is?
Would you please?
Okay, so we will have April 5th, starting April 5th will be early voting, and it'll be that week till the 8th from 8 o'clock to 6 o'clock. And then April 11th through the 14th, we have Friday, the 15th off, which we know as Good Friday. Those days are from 8 to 6. April 18th to April 22nd, 8 o'clock to 6 o'clock. April 23rd, we have a Saturday from 9 o'clock to 4 o'clock. April 25th through April 29th, 8 to 6. April 30th, another Saturday, 9 to 4. May 2nd, we have just the morning. It's the day before election from 8 till 12. And I have them on here as election operations. That's where they will be located. And then on May 3rd will be the polling sites that everyone can go vote there at their polling site.
And do you mind listing the timings for the May 3rd as well? Just
May 3rd. Oh, that is 6 o'clock to 6 o'clock in the morning, evening.
thank you.
Good point.
And do we need to move to approve these times? Or Tree, did you want to add
Thank you.
something?
I was going to ask you, are you going to approve those times?
Can I have a motion to approve them?
I'll move.
Second.
Oh, and so Chairperson Rana,
Yes.
Clerk Brown,
Yes.
Board Member Garlitz,
Yes.
motion approved 3-0. And then I would appreciate if the board could come to my office and actually sign this little sheet of paper. That will help me. And do you want me just to continue on with my list? Okay.
Yes, thank you.
All right, so this is a little bit different than we've had last year, but on March 18th, I will be sending out any ballot applications that have come to me, whether they're military, overseas, or just the absentee ballot requests that I've gotten since December 1st. They must go out by March 18th, and that will happen. There are people that like to get that list of ballots being sent out. Previously, they just had to call me and ask me, and I'd put them on a list and I would send them the names that go out daily. This year, I need to have a VRG 24 signed by each person who wants anything that is electronic data that is coming from our statewide voter registration site, which is SVRS. So I sent that out to a lot of the candidates. If they were on my list before, they got them this morning. And that VRG 24 can be sent out or passed on to whoever wants to get that. But I need to have that signed, but they can send it back to me email. And then I would put them on that list. And so it's just but some people will go, I didn't have to do that before. It is what we're doing this year in this election, and we'll do it from now on. With that, on that VRG 24, it talks about cost. There is no cost. So don't worry about sending in a check or writing in an amount. It is a free service. It's just something that can be charged, but Monroe County does not do that. So that's just information for the public as well as candidates, and anybody can request that information.
Ms. Karen, is that on the election website that you can be charged? Is that where, because I saw that in your email and I just want to know if that's where that came from, the misconception that they could be charged?
No, it's actually on the VRG 24.
Okay.
So the county can choose to charge money for certain data things. We just don't. And
Correct.
most counties don't.
Right.
But good.
I just want to be sure because there are some forms or some things that the clerk can charge for, and we do charge for instance, some copies, but things related to election, that is not the case. So for example, if you need to complete a voter registration paperwork, there is no charge for that. So even if you saw that, and this has happened, somebody saw the fee that we can charge $1 per page by statute, we do not charge. There is no cost to register to vote. Absolutely no cost.
Correct. You are correct. So then another just tidbit of information, also when I have candidate filing, if they make $5,000 or spend a certain amount of money over, they have to have a CFA 1. And to my knowledge, every candidate did, with the exception of one person. And then when that happens, then it's up to our office and the election board to actually open the CFA 1 for them. And we did that, and that was for Lee Jones running as commissioner. And we just set that up February 11th this year, 2022. Everything's fine. It's just the knowledge that we had to do it, and it falls underneath the responsibility of the election board, but it was done and handled here. And then another thing we need to find out with our new precinct, Bean Blossom 3, which has 5 registered voters. So we're really excited about that. If you remember, they are in the Bean Blossom Township, but they are also they've been annexed into Ellettsville town. So that's why we had to create another precinct. And we need to know where they're going to vote. I've sent out something before, and I think I know what I told you, but I may have to amend what I said. My suggestion would be for them to vote at the Steinsville Lions Club. It's really close to that location, and those people always have voted there. And I think it just would be easier just to keep them going in the direction that they have gone, rather than having them going into the Ellettsville Christian Church. That would be my suggestion, but that's up to you.
I guess Clerk Brown, do you want to have any discussion or respond to that, or should we?
I have no issues with that recommendation, but I certainly am open to discussion with the board.
I did look at it on the map with Jared, with the surveyors. When I may have said before, I thought maybe Ellettsville would have been a better route because they're headed that direction all the time. But looking at the map, it's very close, because I didn't really know in locations where Bean Blossom 3 is to the Lions Club. It is very close. And again, it's what they've done before, so we wouldn't be changing them with anything. And then that location would have all the Bean Blossom. I think it would just be the simplest, but I'm also open for any discussion of another thought.
No, I agree. It makes sense to use the same one that the voters are familiar with. So, and it looks like Board Member Garlitz is nodding his head, or at least not asking for discussion. Okay.
Yeah.
So shall we move to vote on that? And
I will make a motion.
Second, sorry.
All right, Chairperson Rana,
yes.
Clerk Brown,
Yes.
Board Member Garlitz.
Yes.
Motion has been approved 3-0. Then I have another one. I guess I'm on a roll here. We have a new polling site in Bloomington High School North. I've had to set up that in SVRS, so I chose one precinct to put in there so I could do that. Just for clarification, to have these poll sites all set and the precincts, everything gets hinged on that from my e-poll books. You know, No Ink was needing that, SVRS needed it, Hart needs it to set the ballot, which I'll talk a little bit about that later. So I put in Bloomington 17 because the school is in Bloomington 17, so I knew you wouldn't argue with that. But you probably want other, or perhaps you want other precincts to go there. I had suggested earlier that maybe you want to pull some from the UU Church, the Universal Unitarian Church. I hope I have those words right, because we took a lot from Genesis and the Meadowwood and put them over there. So they've got pretty well overwhelmed. I mean, I think it went well, but they have a lot of people, a lot of registered voters there. So that would make sense. But I don't really have too much of a recommendation other than I don't think Meadowwood would want to go there because it's pretty much across the street from them and they are all elderly and that would make sense. I think I gave you a couple ideas in that email, but right now I don't have that in front of me. And you may have some other ideas that you want. So which precincts do you want at Bloomington North High School?
My preference, since we all have to go over and sign the paperwork that you need, and we each would end up going over by our individual selves, is that we chat with you about it, where we can see everything and discuss it with you, and then make sure that we're in agreement on that. Is that fair?
It would be if I can have that by tomorrow, because I have Hart kind of waiting in the wings here waiting for me to say, go,
So you're under a deadline.
extreme.
I can come over as soon as this meeting is done.
Okay.
Is Clerk Brown, is it, in your experience, is there any reason that we would change from those recommendations?
I don't have any reason, especially if it makes common sense like we had when Ms. Karen told us about the people who lived in the church's precinct but voted somewhere else. If it makes common sense, I don't have any issues with those recommendations.
So then I guess, would it be wise of us to go ahead and take a vote for it now? And then if we need to change something, do it later?
Do you have those recommendations that I sent you?
I mean,
Do you
I've
have-
read, I'll have to find them again, but I know what you're speaking on because I've read it, but it's
I know
somewhere
I couldn't find it this morning, but then I'm just sitting here eating bonbons, so I should have been able to find it, but
You are hardly
Sorry.
eating bonbons. How about this? If I could trouble Tree to, if she got a copy of those recommendations, to have somebody run them to the meeting room I'm in. I'm willing to take a look at them on this meeting so that we can get you a vote today.
we could just read them out. Yeah, I'm looking for them too currently, and I know I
Yeah.
put everything in one folder, but
Me too.
we've got a lot of emails.
We do, we do.
my apologies. I should have been.
Ms.
able to
Tree
have-
raised her hand for something.
I do have it.
Yay!
Yeah, I'm
Can
gonna
I
read it
trouble
to you. I'm
Oh.
gonna read it to you, and I'm also gonna send it up to you, Nicole.
Thank you.
If you'll take this up for me, I'd appreciate it. Let me print it first. She's in the Board of Judges room.
You still got your
Yeah, they can hear me.
mic on.
I'm gonna print it too.
While we're waiting, can I ask what hours you're available for us to come by either this afternoon or tomorrow to sign the paperwork that we needed to?
Actually, my hours are going to be a little bit different. It'll be to your benefit. I am having a class here at 6:30. So I will be here until 6:30, actually till 8 o'clock, until the class is over. So I'm not going home at 4. I'm
Okay.
just going to stay here until the class starts. So anytime, if I just need a signature, you can even come in up to 7:30 probably. And I can just have it laying out so you can sign it.
Okay, thank you. I'll try to come sometime after 4 today then.
Okay.
All right, this is an updated poll site file. I put Bean Blossom 3 at Ellisville Christian Church.
And I changed my mind.
Okay, Perry 4 was moved to Jackson Creek. Perry 24 was moved to Southside Christian.
Yes.
Bloomington High School North now has Bloomington 17. Okay, are you for or against Bean Blossom 3 and Bloomington 17? I understand that Perry 4 and Perry 24 were decided upon. What other precincts you want at Bloomington High School North? If we move the UU Church, because we took those from Genesis and put them in UU, Bloomington 22 is Meadowwood. They would probably stay at the UU Church. In 2018, the UU Church had Bloomington 3, and that was roughly 1,200 people. Bloomington 7, which is roughly 1,200 people. Then in 2020, they had Bloomington 4, 364, Bloomington 13, which was roughly 1,100, Bloomington 17, 1,000, and Bloomington 22, 1,000. Those were all added to the UU Church. Bloomington High School North is in Bloomington 17. So, but that leaves, if you leave Meadowwood at the UU Church, that would leave Bloomington 4 and Bloomington 13. Are y'all with me? So that's roughly, Bloomington 4 has roughly 400 people. Bloomington 13 has roughly 1,100. So you're roughly moving 1,400 people plus Bloomington 17 to Bloomington High School North.
So we'd be moving, just to clarify, moving to north would be 17, 13, and 4?
4, 13, and 17, yes.
Okay,
Bloomington.
great.
And
May
what's the proximity to their north to their current sites?
Well, some of them, it's no big difference because they were voting at Genesis and we lost Genesis. They were voting at Meadowwood, but that's a nursing home, so we lost that one too. So they're going to have to be moved somewhere.
So I would move that we just go with those recommendations. If we've got to move them regardless, this seems like it makes most sense. So that would be my motion.
Or leave them at the UU church, which it's where they were the last election.
And I'd like to say something about that, just for because both of you became board members after decisions were made about Meadowwood and Genesis and the UU. So let me take you back to the fact that we had a wonderful team of people who were helping us to make sure that all of our polling sites were compliant. And I have a special fondness for two things: Meadowwood, because my sweet little elderly voters voted there up until the pandemic. And then also Genesis Church, just the biggest shout out to them. That church came through for us when another church up the road that had committed to both elections, you commit to doing the primary, you commit to doing the general. They pulled out of being a polling site, no notice, shortchanged us. And it's just a very unfortunate circumstance. And Genesis Church came through for the voters of Monroe County who live in that area as far as a precinct. It is incredibly unfortunate. And we certainly know churches probably run on the same limited budgets that government employees run on when you're asking for money. They have an ADA compliance issue where the ramp, if I recall, is too steep for people using wheelchairs and rollators and walkers and canes and things. And so it was with incredible regret that we had to move our Meadowwood people from Genesis to the UU. With everything that we're talking about today, I'd like to relieve some of that if it makes common sense. I don't want to do anything that doesn't make common sense, because I know that I've talked about how much voters are creatures of habit, and I don't want to move them if I don't have to. But if it makes common sense and we can relieve some of the pressure on UU, I would like to do that. Did I make that make sense?
Yeah, and my understanding also is that the Bloomington North space is pretty big, right? That's another advantage.
We had discussed that previously too. That's why I think that makes perfect sense. And you know, it's unfortunate we can't continue with the previous sites, but I mean, things do happen.
And if Genesis ever came back into compliance, because it was going to take a significant amount of money, if they ever came back into compliance, I would want to do that for my Meadowwood voters, unless Meadowwood is also going to come back around to being a voting site, because that is as Tree was talking about, we moved them to the UU because of the proximity to the retirement community. Probably wouldn't have wanted to do it under any other circumstance. If Genesis was available, I would have wanted them just to go, because it's literally at the end of the lane.
So are we going 3-1 or 2-1 right now?
I'm sorry, say it again. Yeah, 3-1. I know what you're saying. 3-1.
I mean, that's a big win for staffing just by itself right there. So,
but now, board, Mr. Donovan, I want to tell you, it is my hope to, we had 34 polling sites. We've gone down because of ADA compliance or other issues. I want to get that number back up and not take polling sites away.
I just know finding folks is hard right now.
It is. As we go forward, I'm hopeful to increase some voting, not by very many, but at least get us back up to where we were, and then add some in the event that vote centers become an option down the road in Monroe County. That would be my hope to do that.
And my other, I guess, concern or thought, which I think this alleviates, is that, you know, we just don't know where the pandemic is going to be, you know, on voting day. And it sounds like I've been to some of these sites when I was doing the kind of voter protection in, I believe it was 2018. And, while they were all really, first of all, I really appreciate making those spaces available. I think a bigger location with the really high ceilings, the way that Bloomington North has, might be, at least reassuring to people in terms of, I really hope the pandemic is done by May, but or the end of April, but just in case, I think that's a benefit as well. So should we, I guess, I don't know if we need further discussion, or should we move to, or should I ask for a motion?
I've already moved. We just need a second, I think.
I will make the second.
Roll call. Chairperson Rana,
Yes.
Clerk Brown,
Yes.
Board Member Garlitz.
Yes.
Motion approved, 3-0. Then I have another one that is probably, well, I'll make a quick one. I have two. One's a big one. I did send out the information to the board members that, I don't know if it's going to show up or not, probably not, but from the state that says if you do not have contested races for the delegates or for the precinct committeemen, they are to be removed from the ballot unless that the board members have, not Nicole, but the D and the R, will have requested in writing by February 11th to have them on the ballot. So I had to have them removed, or I took them off. And I just wanted that in the minutes that was done and that you did know of that. I don't know if there needs to be a motion, but I think it's a law. Is that what you would call it? It just says you need to do that.
Yeah, so it sounds like the announcement you just made should be sufficient, so it goes into the minutes and people know about it as opposed to us voting on it. So thank you for taking care of that.
All right, thank you. And then the other one, regarding the ballot, we have a candidate who was running for a Republican running for District 62 as a representative. Her name is Myra Paff. She had to go through a hearing on February 18th with the State Indiana Election Commission, and they denied her. She was challenged because of her residency, and they denied her, so I had to take her also off the ballot. There were others that got removed to another Republican and 2 other Democrats. But this one, she is deciding to challenge that. So she is going through the process of getting a hearing before a judge, a certain judge from District 62. And if the judge approves her, then I have to put her back on. So just to back up a little bit, my deadline for the Democratic and Republican chairs is tomorrow, that they can still challenge the ballot. And I've already talked to both of them and they are not going to challenge it. They're fine with it as it is. So then that means I can, once I get these precincts signed off, then I can tell Hart to go ahead, and I've sent her the ballots. Her name's Alicia. She has the ballots, and then she'll set that all up and get the polling sites and the precincts all connected. And there's still a couple more procedures that she has to do. She'll get it back to me maybe Monday or Tuesday, depending. And then there's a few things I have to do. And then it gets set, and it will be set March 11th. And after that, any changes will cost the county money. And then depending on that process, for instance, if it doesn't, like if Myra ends up winning her hearing the next week, or let's say anything after March 18th, because I have to send out the ballots on March 18th. That means Hart has already sent me their V drives and keys, it's the computer
Not car keys.
Yes, not a car key, but they're called keys. once I get them, then if there's a change in the ballot, I have to send them back. They have to redo the whole process, not just the 20 ballots or whatever that might include. It has to be all the ballots, the 180 ballots, because the end process, I have to have one program that fits the county. Otherwise, I'd have one in one program and one in the other, and then you can't mesh them together when we want to tally and do all the things that we do on election day. So the big problem is if she gets this hearing and is approved, she doesn't have a deadline. I have deadlines, but she doesn't have a deadline. So if it goes past that time that I told you, that means I would have to send out every ballot, resend every ballot that I've sent out, because that ballot will not work on election day. So I don't want it to happen, but I don't have a lot of choice. And I have no idea what the cost is. I've not been told. You just need to know this whole thing. She's told me she doesn't want to do that, but I've sent her this information. I've told her that for me to keep this moving smoothly, it is the March 11th drop dead deadline, but it's not a legal one. Do you understand? That's what I want, but that's not what she has to abide by.
This is what I'll say for the benefit of the board. I mean, this is not ideal, but we have had circumstances like this before. For example, if a candidate were to pass away after the ballot has been printed, but before election day, we've had to go back and have new ballots made. That happened in my first year as chief deputy, and it was a presidential election. So while not ideal, and while it would be an additional cost, we could get through the primary and pay it. But then I would just ask the board, that would be a legitimate reason to approach the council for additional appropriations for something that was through no fault of our own and not our being fiscally responsible. So it can be done. We just have to make it through the primary. Fair?
And so basically what I'm telling you is just information, but I knew you needed to know that. If we're done with, so if you just absorbed all that, I just have one more thing, and it's so much better that I realized during the middle of the night, wake up and I think, I wonder why you guys don't get the dispatch. We get it's called Election Division Dispatch, little newsletter. I know you just see it as a piece of paper, but that comes out every month from the state. And I found out that you can be on it. So you are going to be getting it from now on. And it really has a lot of good information. It has deadlines and just stuff. I think it's a really good little thing to have. So you're going to be getting that from now on.
Thank you. That'll be really helpful.
Yeah, I think it will. And that's it. I have no more.
Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you for all of those updates and information. So let me, I'll just do a quick check to see if we had gotten everyone's, okay, so I think we're set.
I have a quick question, if that's okay. I'm sorry. What is the procedure for, I understand, Karen, you need these signatures like ASAP. What is the procedure for me assigning a proxy? Because I am literally down to the hour waiting on a call from the embassy overseas to see if I'm getting on a plane to go help get some of Christina's family.
Whoa.
So I just don't know what the procedure is and what the legal side of that is. I know I can assign a proxy, but I would prefer for something as simple as this, that I just designate one of my fellow board members, but I'm not sure if it has to be someone else.
I'm sorry.
Oh.
What if I scan you and you sign do you have the ability to scan it back to me?
100%, that's fine.
Well, I think in today's world, Karen, would you accept that?
Yeah, I can do that. I can
She'll
scan
do
it.
that. How's that?
Done. Good.
Thank you.
And good luck with everything also.
Absolutely. Good luck. Safe travels. And I hope everything works out for your wife's family.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, we'll be thinking of you, and thank you. So I'll move now to public comments. So we'll open the floor for public comments. If anyone has wishes to make a comment, you'll have 3 minutes, and you can use the raise hand function on the screen or type it into the chat. And I'll just give everyone a moment so I can check the screen and see if anyone has raised their hand. Okay, I think I did it correctly this time, and I don't see any raised hands. So last call for public comments. I see there's a question in the chat, which is, did you say you're in need of poll workers? I think the answer is yes. So I'll let Karen speak to that, or Clerk Brown, whoever wishes to speak about that.
I'll let Karen.
Yes, thank you, Penny, for reminding me of that. We do need poll workers for early voting, Democrats as well as Republicans. We're actually using more people than ever before. Our early voting is going to be at the old Napa building. It has been renamed Election Operations, and that's right on Walnut. And so both of my leads, the Democrats and the Republicans, are both scrambling, trying to get people in. Usually the Democrats have plenty of workers, but at this point they don't. That meaning they also need people as well as the Republicans. And then of course, we're always looking for poll workers on election day. And that is, yeah. And our pay went up. They're getting paid $14 an hour. I think that's pretty reasonable. People who do it really enjoy it. It's been a great time, and it's amazing how well it works with the bipartisanship. People are always saying once they get past kind of the shock, it's like, oh my gosh, I've gotten to be such good friends with somebody in another party. And I know that sounds kind of trivial, but it's really true. We kind of stick to our own kind of people sometimes, and this gets you out politically, but we don't talk politics, and it just really works amazingly well. And it's been really fun.
Thank you. And if for anyone who's listening or wants to share the information, if you know of someone who is interested in volunteering, or I guess you get paid, so it's not quite volunteering, but what's the best way to, like, where should we send them? Can they use the email on the website, or?
You can call the office here, 812-349-2612. Right now, I can't remember. What's the other one? There's like 3 of them. 26, what is it, Tree? That is
I'm
really,
thinking it's 2612, 2610, or is that, or
2610
is
is
that
the fax.
that's the fax, yeah.
2612 will get you here. So that is really fun. 2690 and 2692. Well, I don't know what happened there. Also, yeah, contact us, and then we'll get you a hold of, if it's election day, we'll put you with the Democratic recruiter, or if you're Republican, we'll put you with the Republican recruiter. If you're looking for early voting, that's the one that's really on our mind right now. We'll get you with those leads, and they will schedule you. And you don't have to have any experience before, because we train you, and I do think you would enjoy it. Also, I think I saw Ralph something popped up. Were you asking something about an audit?
Yeah, I can just read off the question from Ralph Shaw. It says, is there any word on developing plans for an election audit? I don't know if that was directed to Clerk Brown or.
Well, Clerk Brown can say that I have spoken to the president of HART, which is our vendor, and also Drew, who is the wonderful person who helps us during elections. He's coming to help train one of our colleagues. And so, yes, we are in the discussion stages of developing plans for an election audit. I was also waiting to see how legislation was going to shake out at the State House, because the Secretary of State, that is one of her pillars, she wants you to refer to them as post-election audits. And so waiting to hear how the final vote came down at the State House level. The legislative session is not over. And so, Ms. Ralph, stay tuned. Is that fair?
Mhm.
Thank you. And I guess I'll do a last call for public comments. I don't see any hands raised. So then I'll just announce that our next election board meeting is April 7th, 2022 at 1 p.m. And I believe that will be in person at the Nat Hill, is that right? Nat U Hill Room. But it'll be on the agenda, right, where it is. So thank you so much. So I guess we can move to adjourn. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I will make the motion to adjourn.
Second.
And Chairperson Rana,
Yes.
Clerk Brown,
Yes.
Board Members Garlitz,
Thank you.
and your,
Yes.
is that a yes? Motion approved, 3-0.
Thank you. So I'll look forward to seeing you all in person, hopefully at the next meeting, and hope everyone is well till then.